All right, we are live. I'm your instructor, Pierre Hui, aka Mr. P. The P is for patience. Today, the P is for pass your exam. I have a young man that's going to take his exam. Everybody wish him luck, please. And in the meantime, let me get my other platforms live, okay? So hang on one second. Hang on one second. And I'm going to go live. What is today? 7/27. And the year is going by really, really fast, is it not? Okay, done. There we go. There we go. All right, live on both platforms. Once again, I'm your instructor, Pierre Hui, aka Mr. P. The P is for patience. Welcome YouTube, welcome TikTok, welcome social media platforms. And today, what are we talking about? What are we studying? We are studying about straight razors, okay? But as I like to do, I always want to start with, okay, cool. I always want to start with the CIB, which stands for the Candidate Information Bulletin. And I try to find what it falls under. Of course, the CIB is where State Board tells you what they're looking for when it comes to studying and when it comes to taking your written or theory exam, which is multiple choice. Okay, if you are taking Master Hair Care, it is 110 questions with 10 questions weighted, which means they give you those 10 questions. They give you that credit. If you are taking Registered Barber, it's 60 questions. Okay, and they don't on the Registered Barber, they don't study anything chemical except the basics, and even then it's only a few questions out of that 60. But Master Hair Care, you definitely going to get anywhere from 40 to 45, somewhere around there, 40, 45 questions dealing with things chemical related. Okay, and of course all of that stuff is in your CIB. I always tell everybody, make sure you study your CIB on a regular basis, not just when it's time to finally pay for your test and take your exam. That's too late. You should be studying your CIB from day one, so you know everything that they expect from you, okay? Including the content outline. All right, so today with us talking about razors, that falls under the CIB under implements, tools, and equipment used in barbering. If you are on TikTok, you can't see the screen that I'm sharing. You are more than welcome to jump on YouTube so you can see the screen that I'm sharing, but I always talk about it as well. So if you got me in the background, you can hear what I'm talking about as well. All right, just follow along. And welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. What's up, Fat? What's up, bro? Dominique, what's up, bro? Hey, listen, man. Holla at me. Holla at me. I got beats all the time. I got beats all the time. They need a home. They need somebody to do something with them. Okay. If y'all ain't following my boy Dom Wilt Music, go follow him right now. He is ridiculously talented, music wise. Go follow him right now. That's my guy. We go way back. We go way back to all of us being kids. So holla at your boy. All right. Okay. So implements, tools, and equipment used in barbering. That is 10% of your exam. You got 2 points of contact, A and B. A is identifying the function, purpose, and care of tools used in hair services. That is learning about equipment, learning about implements, learning about supplies and materials, and then learning about electrical tools. Okay, those are 4 different things. All right. And part B is understanding and applying safety and sanitation practices for use of implements and equipment. So A is understanding the equipment, what it is, what the different functions are, what the different purposes are. And B is understanding being safe with them. All right. So with that being said, we are going to talk about straight razors. Okay. Let me remove this. Put me back where I need to be. All right. Here we go. Sharpest and closest cutting tool, razors. They're used for facial shaves, head shaves, neck shaves, finish work around the sideburn and behind the ear areas, and hair cutting. The razor of choice for professional barbering is the straight razor. Safety razors are not used to perform barbering services in the barbershop. All right, and the biggest difference between those is the straight razor doesn't have that, it doesn't have a guard on there. We just using that blade. Sometimes we might have a solid blade that you strop and hone. if you don't know what a hone and a strop is, just look it up on YouTube. There's plenty of videos that'll show you what I'm talking about with that. We use that a lot. Whether we're doing a razor shape for the shape up, whether we're using it for the beard work, whether we're using it for the head, like just giving an old school shave, shaving somebody clean bald, as we like to say, we're using a solid blade for that. Now, the safety razor has a safety guard on it. Well, a lot of times that's used for, like, just imagine somebody having real long hair, having real long fine hair, where you take a section and you pull it out and you take the razor and you're going over that with the safety razor. That's what the safety razor is for. So they're two different things. They have two different purposes, but they both fall under the razor category, and they both have a razor blade. They both actually have a very sharp razor blade. You just got to make sure you know what you're doing with it. All right. Two types of straight razors that are used in barbering are the changeable blade straight razor and the conventional straight razor, which we just talked about. All right. Let's talk about it a little bit more. Both may be purchased with a razor guard, like we said, for use in razor cutting the hair. Selecting the right kind of razor is a matter of personal choice. The best guides for buying high quality razors are as follows. Four things to think about. Number one, consult with a reliable company representative or a salesperson who can recommend the type of razor best suited to your work. Now, that's if you're going for these really, really expensive razors that they don't require as much sharpening. They don't require a lot of maintenance, and they have a certain build to them. Just like we talked about in the shears chapter, you got cast, you got forged. Okay, you got cast razors where they'll pour into a cast, and it's more like an assembly line. They're going to use cheaper ingredients to make it. Cheaper materials to make it. Don't mean that they're not effective, but they're not going to be as effective as a forged razor. Okay, so just like they cast and forward shears, they cast and forward razors and razor blades as well. So a razor blade that's forged is, just imagine somebody like, you know how people make swords and things like that. They have that compression, and they press and clink, 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 and they forge their swords like that. Well, you got companies that's how they make razors and stuff. So that's they make conventional razors like that, and they tend to be more expensive because of a lot of the process that went into forging the razor. All right. So those will have the type where you'll have a company rep and you call them on the phone and you actually talk with them about your needs and how often you use the razor and all that stuff. Well, it comes with knowing your numbers. It comes with knowing how often that you use the razor, what's your purpose behind using the razor. You know, do you do a lot? If it was somebody that I did, like if I did a lot of shaves, a lot of bald head shaves and things like that, a lot of old school shaves, that'll be my first thing. I probably call a company like Hattori Hanzo. And I know that's associated with Kill Bill, the movie, but no, Hattori Hanzo is actually a real company, and they make very, very, very high quality stuff. They forge all their stuff. All right. Second, consult with more experienced barbers about which razors they have found best for shaving and hair cutting. Anybody that calls me and asks me, I just show them. I just show them. And a lot of times, if they're especially on site with me and I'm doing a haircut, I'll just show them my blades. I'll show them my razors and how well they work. Third, experiment with a variety of razors to determine the style and type most comfortable for you based on the service to be performed. For example, you may prefer a longer blade razor when performing a facial shave and a shorter blade razor for arching around the ears during a haircut. And I do agree, not necessarily with around the ears during a haircut, but definitely when I'm doing C-cups and things like that. Yeah, I have a different razor that I use for different functions and things like that. Welcome to the live, y'all. Appreciate y'all joining. All right. Thank you for the likes too, by the way. All right. Last, avoid judging a razor simply on color or design. Neither one of these characteristics provides a true indication of the razor's caliber as a cutting tool. Yeah, and I agree. I've seen certain razors that you might just have the blade and it doesn't have a traditional design, and it might be this big. But I really like those too, because you can get into areas that's tougher to get into, that you have a razor that's like this long, that has this much blade and this much handle, and you got to flip it around and you got to hold it a certain way. Yeah, you got different kinds of blades. You got one that just it doesn't even fold. it's just like this, and it just got the finger rest. I want to say, my boy, just in case he has razors like that. He is a representative that comes around, and he got a very, very nice line of different types of razors that have different designs. I've used all kinds of designs of razors, so I agree. Don't judge it on design. Don't judge it on the bill. Judge it on, okay, let me use it real quick, and then see where you are with it. Okay. All right. Identifying the parts of a straight razor. The structural parts of conventional and changeable blade straight razors are basically the same, except in the blade area. The conventional razor has a blade, and the changeable blade razor has a blade holder for the blade. Therefore, the structural parts of a straight razor are the head, the back, the shoulder, the tang, the shank, the heel, the edge, the point, the blade or the blade holder, the pivot, and the handle. Okay. And what you can do with that is go to, once again, all these social media platforms. You can look up all the parts of a razor so you can see that. You can see it in action. Okay. Because I'm just going over it in the book. But yeah, if you want to see it in action, there's plenty of videos. There's plenty of reference online and on social media that you can go check out so you can see it for yourself. All right. Okay, the changeable or disposable blade straight razor closely resembles a conventional straight razor in its overall design. This type of razor tends to be used almost exclusively in the barbershop because its disposable blade eliminates honing and stropping. It saves time, and it helps to maintain infection control standards. And that's currently the blade of choice that I use, is a disposable blade razor. Yeah, I mean, I love my old school razor. It is a piece of art. It is very, very effective. But like they said, there's a lot of honing and stropping that I have to do to keep that blade sharp. And sometimes you don't want to do all of that because you may be very, very busy. Like, we got back to school coming up. Well, we're going to be very, very, very busy. I don't have the time to be honing and stropping my blade once I get started. So it's just one of them things. All right. Razor shapers. There are a variety of razor shapers, also known as hair shapers, available on the market today. One style, made of lightweight metal with a pivot and an open handle construction, leaves the majority of the blade visible. This type of razor is not recommended for facial shaving because the blade size and shape can make it challenging to safely shave smaller areas, such as above the upper lip. That's correct. Other hair shaper designs do not have a pivot and consist of a stationary handle with a finger rest. Both styles use a changeable blade system, and they come with a guard. All right. Welcome to the live, y'all. Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate y'all joining. Thank you for the likes. All right. Follow manufacturer's directions for changing the blade. There are several changeable razor models available. Each will have its own design for holding the blade in place. Therefore, the method for replacing the blade will vary depending on the model. Okay. And I mean, that's pretty much it for talking about the types of razors that we have. Okay. That's going to conclude our study session for today. I try to keep it short because y'all attention spans are short. So we're not going to be on here all day, and you're not paying attention. But yeah, that puts us very, very close to 15 minutes. With that being said, if you or anybody that you know has somebody that is in the barber industry or entering the barber industry, and they can use my services as far as studying, as far as getting prepared for the written exam, getting prepared, as far as quizzing, as far as going over certain concepts, getting you ready for your exam. You may have even taken the exam and failed, and you want to get better prepared so you don't fail the next time. Well, I'm your guy for that. And you can find me on all platforms at Pierre Huey, Pierrehouey, on all platforms if you need to get in touch with me, okay? AO Trapping 132 says, do you recommend learning the coloring side, chemicals, and etc. to maximize profit? Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Yes, I do recommend learning the coloring side and the chemicals, because here's the thing. Um, I have a whole part, I would say I have 30% of my clientele are women with shortcuts. They love that color, man. They love that color. They might come in, their hair is black, and they want to leave with their hair being red, purple, green, yellow, blonde, white, whatever. They will pay the money. And on top of that, they will pay they'll pay the deposit. Okay. So, that type of stuff don't come cheap. It is gonna be um it is gonna take up a certain amount of time to be able to do it. But just imagine you can get anywhere from, I would say, for my clients that do that, I get anywhere from 65 to $100 for one person, because I'm doing all those services. Okay. So the coloring adds to your ticket. Absolutely. It adds to your ticket. And like I said, that's 30% of my clientele. I have a, for where I'm based, which is in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I am considered to have a relatively healthy clientele, so to speak. And 30% of that are people that come and get color services. Absolutely. So yeah, I do recommend that. I do recommend that. Yeah, it adds to your ticket considerably. You would be pleasantly surprised to see how your numbers go up. Just adding that into the service and adding that, yeah, you would be thoroughly surprised. Okay. All right. With that being said, I'm your instructor, Pierre Hui, aka Mr. P. Wish my young man Majay luck today as he tests for he takes his written test today, probably in about 2 hours. And yeah, the P is normally for patience. Today it is for pass your exam. All right. With that being said, I will see y'all soon. Y'all have a wonderful Monday. Peace.